are a critical link to our ecosystem, and they are responsible for pollinating over 80% of the world's flowering plants and 75% of the crops that we have here in the United States. There are 20,000 species of bees worldwide, and 4,000 of those are native to the US. And in the Southwest, in Nevada alone, we have about 2,500 species of native bee. So it's very likely that you've seen some of these native bees, which you might be less familiar with, in your own backyard.
Local keeper and honey producer Richard Hicks is a champion of the bees' cause and the colonies at the preserve.
It's a beautiful habitat there, and the bees are always felt at home in the Springs area. Originally, with so many trees and water and everything, it's an ideal place for bees and other organisms there. And so bees are well established. In fact, my guess is that some early beekeepers probably had hives in that area, years ago. In this Las Vegas area, southern Nevada, there's really a strong interest in local honey. That people feel that it really helps with their allergies and so on. And so there's quite a demand for a locally produced honey for that purpose.
His involvement in the honey trade makes him very aware that the bees are usually too busy to bother you when they're so intent on creating their own sweet resource.
The worker bee, when she's working, lives typically 5 or 6 weeks. At that time, their wings become tattered and so on, and they usually maybe just don't make it back from the field. They aren't unable to fly back. So they go through their adult life pretty quickly once they become field bees and are out flying away from the hive.
Most bees are not a threat at all in the least. If you're out in the wild and you're approaching a hive, that's probably your biggest concern, something you want to be aware of. But in our home gardens, walking by shrubs that are covered with bees, their focus is to collect food for their hive, and that's what they're focusing on. As long as they don't face a personal threat by you, they're really just going to leave you alone if you leave them alone. And so what we can do as individuals is really try to ensure that they have sources for food and places to actually nest. Also, providing flowering sources throughout the year with a focus on native plant species is really going to be helpful to ensuring their survival. So you want to look at a water source where they can't drown. So if you have a shallow source of water, or maybe some pebbles so they have a way to climb out, or a stick, that's a great thing to draw them to the space. So another thing we can do is make sure that we're reducing or entirely eliminating chemical use on our properties, because it can have very significant negative impacts to their survival. To me, they're really an incredible group of insects that is well adapted to the environment and something that we should be protecting and looking out for.